Hey, this is Will Hammer with Freedom Gulch. We're going to be doing Freedom Gulch podcast number 5. We haven't done it in a while, so let's get back into this. We have Michael Pickens.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
We got Joshua Huffman.
Hello.
We got Corey Faulkner.
How's everybody doing?
And Andy Bacher.
Glad to be back at it.
Yep. All right, so guys, a lot of stuff's happened. We won't be able to go over all of it, but I was thinking about we talked about LPVA convention. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend. I was scheduled to be part of a panel, which I believe Andy was part of. So what happened and how was it?
I thought it was a great convention. It was very successful. I was lucky enough to be elected as the vice chair of the state party. So, since our last
Congratulations on that.
I've left the local party, now working at the state level. Corey also took on a new position. Corey is the communications chair now for our state party. And we put on a great panel that Josh was a part of. It was a really successful weekend. I think people are really excited about the next 2 years ahead of us and this election cycle in particular. What do you think, Josh? You were there too.
Yeah, no, I thought it was. I thought it was a great event. It was fantastic to actually finally meet Gary Johnson in person. That was a nice first for me. Now let me ask you. Of course, you sent me a link to the both the presidential debate and the panel that we were part of. Is that actually publicly available to folks if they wanted to go and watch that for themselves?
It's not yet,
okay,
but I believe it will be.
Okay.
That's something. These folks were the ones who did the recording. I know that they were talking with Bo about the rights, but it is available for your use.
Sure. No, I just, it'd be nice if people listening to this could say, oh, well, I want to do that.
What I can do is when we have it available for public use, I'll either let Will know so he can put it on Facebook for everybody, or the next time we pull up for the podcast, I'm sure it will be available. We're trying to work out some rights issues, and of course, since we're all volunteers, we know sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get everything up and running. But Bo, myself, and Andy are still working on that aspect of it, and as soon as it's available, we'll definitely make it public for all that who want to take a look at the program.
Well, great.
Yeah, it sounds good. I'd like to see what I missed. So.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate that Georgia was holding their event the same day because it would have been great to get all the candidates there. But because like for example, of course, Austin Peterson and McAfee were down in Georgia as opposed to in Virginia. Now, obviously, Virginia is more important, but they had to make their decision.
Obviously, Virginia is much more important.
Indeed.
Michael, did you went to the Colorado convention?
Yeah, I was at the Colorado convention all weekend. But hey, before we get off the topic of Virginia, I'm flying in to do some libertarian leadership seminars on June 25th, I believe. Saturday, June 25th in Richmond. And then I was talking with Mark about doing the 26th in Northern Virginia.
Cool, man. I'll definitely try to make that event.
Definitely. Yeah, so the Colorado convention, with all the drama leading into Colorado with Colorado State Executive Committee not inviting Austin Peterson to their debate. They did allow Austin Peterson to come and participate. It was actually turned into a really good event. So all in all, it worked out great.
What was? Can you give us a little background? Maybe people that don't know too much about Austin Peterson not getting invited and what happened.
So, the background on that is that the Colorado State Executive Committee actually voted on 2 resolutions. One, to not invite Austin Peterson to participate in the debate, and 2, to not let any of their executive committee members reach out to Austin Peterson and invite him to the debate. Because they feel that Austin Peterson, by disparaging the non-aggression principle, he was basically going against the statement of principles and the pledge. So they felt that he was not really a libertarian.
Mm.
Now, I've heard that they, if he showed up, that was fine, but they weren't just extending the effort. Is that pretty much what you heard as well?
That's correct. There was no resolution saying that he was banned from the convention or anything like that. They just didn't reach out and invite him.
Yeah.
And he did show up, and he got third place in the straw poll there, or no, second place. Yeah. Yeah.
I wish they would have done one in the straw poll in Virginia at the Virginia convention. I'm a little disappointed that didn't happen. Of course, then again, I probably should have done it myself if I wanted to see that.
Yeah, Joshua should have thought of it, man. Come on. How many people attended the Virginia convention? About?
I was told, I think about 80. Is that about right? You all think?
I think so. Yeah.
Somewhere in that.
Yeah.
Is that normal, or is that what's the normal convention number for Virginia?
Well, I mean, it seemed to be a similar number to 2014. 2013 was actually quite small. Of course, that was held in Waynesboro, which was fantastic and convenient, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know. This is only my third one, so I can't really say what's normal.
I say we hold it in Stanton or Harrisonburg next time. How about that, Josh?
That sounds fine to me. Well, we could rent out the Verona Government Center. Put it halfway in between us. That'd be fantastic.
Government Center, get some convention space, like at Stonewall Jackson or something. I don't know.
There you go.
All right, well, let's move on. Lots of primaries. The two major parties have happened, and what do y'all think about the results? Donald Trump seeming to take a pretty commendable lead. Hillary Clinton pulling away as well. What does that mean for us libertarians?
Hopefully there's a brokered convention with the Republican Party. That would be fantastic.
Well, why are you hopeful for that?
Is that what
convention?
Happen?
So what happens with the brokered convention is, let's say Donald Trump doesn't get enough delegates to win it outright. Basically, the super delegates are going to decide. And this is the thing, man. If the establishment Republican Party chooses someone else besides Donald Trump, Donald Trump supporters are going to flip out,
Sure.
right? But if Donald Trump gets it, the establishment is going to flip out. So I don't know, man. Either way, whatever way it goes, we're going to win. So
it's going to make for entertaining TV. So
I think that's what's going to happen. I think whatever goes down, I think the Republican Party is going to splinter.
Oh yeah, it's already like that. Yeah, you're right.
And we'll just put out the welcome mat and start making them more and more libertarian. I mean, a lot of us came from, the two mindsets that are prominent. So, got to work on them, get them more and more libertarian, and next thing you know.
Well, speaking of that, of course, at the most recent Rocktown Libertarian meeting, we actually did have one leader of the local Republican Party show up to it. And at a meeting I went to last night, another local Republican Party leader expressed interest in coming to the next Rocktown Libertarians. So, that's
nice.
Interesting times.
Yeah, we've had some interesting things happen here in Washington recently. Can't really talk about it too much, but the Republicans are breaking up.
Wow.
We're getting a lot of interest, and we have at least one candidate, I think, who is making the jump this year. Never Trump kind of guy. It's fascinating to watch, and I will be there with the popcorn. Ready.
We got to be careful though, man. We had a Republican jump over and start promoting Trump as a libertarian candidate.
Oh my.
Yeah, it was horrible. Like, if you want to come over, that's great. Come over, learn libertarian principles and what we stand for. Learn about our candidates and support our candidates. Not come over here and then turn around and publicly support Republicans. You could have just stayed in the Republican Party for that.
Right. Well, have you seen about
he's back in the Republican Party, needless to say.
Okay, that's
good. Didn't last very long.
Go back there. Have you all heard about the group Libertarians for Trump? Started about Walter Block, and I was like, what? What's the rationale behind it? I don't really understand. I haven't
Well,
really
he
read too
even
much into it.
Yeah, he says in the announcement, like, I recognize that the Libertarian Party will have a candidate who better comports with our views, but we're still going to endorse Trump because I mean, it's basically that he's better than Clinton. It's the same as it is every year. He's terrible, but he's not the Democrat, so I guess that's what we have to do. Well, that's not what we have to do.
Yeah.
Bad news. That's bad news.
You know what, man? Walter Block's a freaking idiot. So he's spoken up here in Washington twice. He spoke at our convention last year, and he started promoting Rand Paul at our convention. And I was like, what are you doing, man? You come into our house and you insult our candidates?
It's like going to the Republican or Democratic convention and promoting the other party's, candidates. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he was highly respected up here in Washington. He lost a lot of respect at our convention. I can tell you that much. And now with this move, yeah, no thanks. Any Libertarian Party convention, dude, don't invite Walter Block. Don't let him speak. Like, seriously, it's ridiculous.
Good to know.
All right. Well, I've noticed on my feeds, like my Facebook feed, is a lot of taxation as theft memes. So definitely wanted to get into that. I've noticed a huge influx of them this past week. I definitely, obviously, as a anarcho-capitalist, I agree with the assertion that taxation is theft. But I figure since it's such a hot topic and so many memes circulating around the interwebs, I imagine we just dive on in there. So let's hear your thoughts on that. How about you start, Michael?
Oh man, the taxation is theft memes are awesome. I created what I think is one of the first ones. It was a nice, beautiful landscape background with some personal development statements, and the last one was taxation is theft.
I saw that one.
I spent 10 minutes looking for that background picture, man. I had to find the perfect one. But then it just has gone crazy, and I think it's great because it's now like bringing this to light. People are starting to think about it. Wait a minute, is taxation theft? So if I don't consent to the government taking my money, what is it? So.
Well, speaking of that, something I found rather fascinating. Of course, I wish you could have been there, Will. At the last Rocktown Libertarian meeting, we had the Republican candidate who's running as Bob Goodlatte show up, and during his talk, he actually said that taxation was theft, which is sort of shocking.
That.
Yeah, it's like, and of course, Mark made mention of that. It's like I don't recall ever hearing a Republican candidate say that before.
Well, you got to take that logical step. If you believe taxation is theft, then all of government is, its means and or the way it's created and implemented is through taxation. So if you believe it's theft, then you think that government's actions are based on immoral actions. So how can you therefore continue to advocate various government programs and departments and oversight?
I think that for me, and I take it because my kids are in public school here in Richmond, the problem is at the end of every fiscal year, they say they need more money. And last year they said they needed more money, they had to cut services. This year they have an $18 million shortfall, and they're looking at closing 6 schools, laying off teachers. So we're putting into the tax bucket, but at the end of the year, the government always mismanages our money so badly, it tells us that they have to cut services. Right now, Richmond is looking at a 12% tax increase. I think property tax is where they want to increase to try to cover that shortfall. So my problem is that my kids are in overcrowded schools. They don't get the best services. It's difficult to communicate with teachers. But now the city's telling me that they want me to fork over additional money in my taxes, and that's not something that I'm willing to do.
Well, that's what you talk about services. Wouldn't it be nice if we had competition? You do have private schools and whatnot, but if you weren't extorted and forced to pay for services that are inefficient and don't create the best results, and they always, ask for more money because it's not like they voluntarily bring in people to pay for their services. They extort them and steal them within a given geographical location. So that's what I'm saying. Like, wouldn't it be so nice if we were able to actually have truly competing services and not have to, have our money stolen for services that we either don't use or that we don't want to use or inefficient.
So are you guys familiar with the Drew Carey solution there for education?
And what's that?
So Drew Carey, he did a show called Reason Saves Cleveland, where he basically went through 6 major problems that the city of Cleveland is having. And what Drew Carey did is he outlined common sense, pragmatic, libertarian solutions. So Drew Carey's solution for education is to implement like a backpack effect or a voucher system, right? So the state of Washington is spending $10,000 per child per year in the government-run education system. Well, what if the parents could then take that same $10,000 instead of giving it to this huge one-size-fits-all factory-type education system, if they could then decide where to take their kid. So what would happen is all these private schools would start opening up specialized schools. For example, let's say in high school when a kid turns 14 and he knows he doesn't want to go to college and he wants to work with his hands, well, he can actually have his parents take him to a private school that focuses on, let's say, mechanical engineering, right, or construction, or mechanic or whatever it is, right? Different specialized schools instead of everyone having to go to college and everyone getting force-fed into this machine for their entire 12 years in education going along this same path. Well, guess what? Not everyone's going to go to college. Not everyone's going to benefit from not everyone needs algebra. You know what I mean? Not everyone needs advanced history. It's just not going to.
What's the program called? What did Drew Carey call this?
Reason Saves Cleveland. It's actually a video series, and I use this when I'm recruiting and I'm promoting the Libertarian Party. I send that video along because let me tell you what, everyone loves Drew Carey, right? And the solutions in there are common sense. They're pragmatic, moves us in the right direction, and it's not going to scare grandma or the soccer mom. So
okay, I'm gonna check that out.
Well, definitely the voucher system is a more efficient and better means to it, but getting back to the root of taxation being theft, you still have to have taxation funds to fund those vouchers.
Sure.
So, but definitely that's a more efficient use of tax money, but getting back to the actual immoral action of having to extort that money out of citizens.
Let's talk about that, right? Taxation is theft. So do we want more taxation or less taxation? Less taxation, right? Okay, so obviously, if you look at the education numbers here in Washington State, private schools on average cost half the amount as public schools. Half the amount. So if we can move over to that system, be able to reduce costs that way, that means less money is going to be going out, which in turn means less taxation. So if we're moving the dial in the right direction, we just keep moving it. But if we got rid of taxes completely tomorrow and pushed Rothbard's button and froze everything, there'd be riots in the streets.
Yeah, I'm definitely not an advocate for pushing the Rothbard button, but definitely like to eventually get to that point. But I believe that the best is to incrementally decrease the taxation burden, the size and scope of government. And so, any thoughts on that, Andy?
Well, yeah, clearly. I don't know. The Rothbard button is always a hard question. But one thing that I would like to say is that this is like by far the height of libertarian social media that I've seen in the past few years. Like, never has the libertarian Twitterverse or Facebookverse, whatever you have, never has something been created like this taxation is theft meme.
Huh.
It's beautiful. It's traveling widely. People love it. It's fun, and it's so libertarian, and that's huge. And clearly taxation is theft, and all you have to do is look at what happens if you don't pay. Guess what? You get a gun in your face, and you get thrown in a cage. Do it on the Carl Loser route for a second.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I like it that these memes with the taxation and theft, being very creative, getting people to actually think about taxation, the role of government. It's good to actually have these people, and that's what a lot of us libertarians are here for. Libertarian Party is for education and to have people talking about the different topics that they normally would not be talking within the Republican and Democratic rings. So.
It's a beautiful thing. We need more of it. Although it's starting to get tread a little bit. We'll see what comes next.
Now we got to find a new one. What's the next one?
Yeah, really.
I don't know. Any thoughts, Joshua? What's the next one, Joshua?
I really, I didn't come up with taxation as theft, so I want creative genius behind that.
All right, Corey, you're the communications director of the LPVA. What's the next one?
What's the next one for the show? What's the next thing besides taxation?
No. Yeah. What's the next meme? What's the next tagline other than taxation is theft?
So I'm gonna tell you my secret. My secret. I have two secrets. My oldest stepson comes up with the cool tagline, so I have to talk to him. And Connie Hannigan Frank is my ghostwriter. So I have to check with those two sources.
Well, let us know once you do that. All right.
Well, so we've got self-ownership, right? So I own myself, not the government, or the government doesn't own me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about the whole iPhone situation with the terrorist activity in California, and NPR today was talking about they have a company that's going to hack the phone for them, so they don't need Apple. Did anybody hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about FBI's got some third party that they're going to maybe be able to hack into the phone or something. But I mean, McAfee offered his services like a month ago, so I don't know what the FBI is waiting around for, right?
But then my question is it different when, and I haven't spoken to Rob Sarvis, who's probably the resident expert, the phone belonged to the county government, so technically it wasn't the individual's phone. So do we see a difference in county property being hacked versus Will Hammer's personal iPhone?
I'm an Android guy, by the way. I didn't. What do you mean that is the property of the county? What?
Meaning the phone was a work-related phone.
Oh, okay.
There was a backdoor system that should have been downloaded to the device in order to give them access to the information. The person that issued the phone just didn't put that backdoor app on the device. So I guess they kind of knew there was a backdoor, just the person that provided the phone didn't give that. So from what I was reading at the time, it's like it's different because the phone technically belongs to the government. It's not an individual's device.
Well, I wasn't
so
aware
the
of
government
that.
screwed up. Whoever issued the phone didn't put the app on there, so they have to take responsibility for it.
No, government take responsibility for their mistakes. Come on.
That's what I had read. That's what I had read thus far, and that's kind of where I had stopped. So.
Well, getting into that, the tragic events that just happened in Brussels, we can kind of talk about, I guess, terrorism in general and ISIS and everything like that, and what's brought or how this is brought about with intervention, foreign policy that's been predicated and continued through the last few decades. Us meddling in other countries and essentially creating an extremist with bombs and such, killing and displacing millions of people in the Middle East. What's your thoughts on the Brussels and just in terror, terror in general?
Well, I found it interesting the response, of course, of the presidential candidates. It feels like Ted Cruz has sort of gone full neoconservative on us here, which is very troubling. I don't know because of course there are libertarians for Cruz out there, whether you like that or not.
Libertarians for Trump too. I imagine there's libertarians for Sanders and libertarians for Hillary. And
but I mean, the solution is, close the borders, register all Muslims, start bombing people. I mean, isn't that just going to make things worse?
Well, definitely, it is, But I mean, didn't Ted Cruz say that he wants to make the sand glow?
Yes.
I mean, it's just all of them are war hawks, whatever side they're on, they all keep wanting to continue this policy that has failed and that has created this issue that we now, have dealt with in the past couple of decades.
I think that's an important point. What happened this morning is scary. It's not scary because I'm concerned about the possibility of an attack on my commute or anything like that. It's scary because I'm concerned about what it's going to do to the domestic political climate. And I was watching something this morning. I can't even remember what it was. Democracy Now! Maybe. One of those. And he said, if an attack does come to America, you better get ready for President Trump. And unfortunately, I think they might be right. That's the kind of stuff that raises up authoritarians everywhere in the world. It seems a little bit different this time around between Paris and Brussels to have this humongous impact on our side of the pond. I'm not sure that was happening before. I don't know if you guys have thoughts on that.
Don't all speak at once, guys.
I hear keyboards going. I mean,
I'm still on the plantation.
It's crazy. I watched that clip of Ron Paul and Giuliani from 2008 a couple of times, and I posted on Freedom Gulch. It's blowback. I think even to call it terrorism is a misnomer because guess what? These countries are engaged in a war. This is the war that's being fought, and to delude ourselves into thinking that this is a unilateral attack by people from the Middle East against the West is ridiculous.
Yeah, there was something like 27,000 drone strikes, missiles dropped last year alone by the United States. 27,000. That's insane. And how many terrorist attacks on U.S. soil happened? I think there was 2. So 2 versus 37,000. But yet they're the terrorists. The United States government is not a terrorist, even though we're over there, invading other countries, dropping missiles all over the Middle East, and basically making the sand glow for them.
Well, like I've said, how would we feel if Iran or Iraq or any of these Middle Eastern countries that we bomb and invade, if they had military bases in Canada, military bases in Mexico, they've invaded other countries around us, and then they start drone strikes and invade us. How would we feel? That would radicalize, young men in this country as well.
Yeah.
We already radicalized with patriotism, from the attacks that we have, encountered, but obviously because of the blowback from our policies, our government's foreign policies. So how would we feel if it was on the size and scope that the U.S. government does to those Middle Eastern countries?
And what a great opportunity for the Libertarian Party in a year where both of the old parties are talking about nothing but war and not giving anything close to a serious peace candidate. That's another big opportunity and a chance for us to differentiate ourselves.
Well, and along those same lines, of course, the fact that that Obama made a trip to Cuba recently, which personally I thought was a great thing, that he was, finally having diplomacy as opposed to this isolationist foreign policy that, that's actually isolationism there, is what we've been doing to Cuba. And, of course, just interesting to hear some of the people's response, sort of the war hawks response, oh, this is terrible, but I don't know. I mean, is diplomacy such a horrible thing that you're looked at as being a weak person or a weak president for supporting that sort of thing?
Personally, I don't think so. I think we need free trade and open borders, let people travel and do as they please. I'm very happy with seeing the relations with Cuba being normalized. I've been, like I watched the baseball game earlier, or part of it. It's great seeing that this country that we have closed out and we've sanctioned and we've done pretty much anything and everything to destroy them, other than straight up invade them. That we're actually, because I'm not talking about Cuba as the government. The government's a horrible government, obviously, but I'm talking about the Cuban people. You see these millions of people that have been underneath this communist rule, and it's so nice to be able to see them, them having smartphones, and they're starting to have technology, and they're looking like they're becoming more free, and hopefully this continues to where, they do have some semblance of freedom. And obviously, I'd love to see total freedom, but we'll see how far that goes.
I absolutely think it's a positive step that the president is in Cuba. And obviously the optics look bad that he's going to a baseball game when this is all happening, but that's not something that he can be faulted for, I think. I did think the picture with the arm thing.
I watched that. That was an awkward, weird press conference, man. He was holding his hand up.
And that was after. Raul Castro, horrible interview. Because he's actually taking questions from the press. This never happens, but they made him do it because Obama requested it. And they're saying, hey, what about those political prisoners? And he's saying, which one? Give me a name.
They'll be gone. They'll be out by tonight, But with that, the first question was about the political prisoners, but then the second question that he answered, which he only answered 2 questions, was actually about where does he see the vision or the future vision of Cuba? Where does he see Cuba going? With the opening relations with the United States, and he went back to the political prisoners. He didn't even talk about that. He went back to it. It was a strange press conference.
He's not used to taking questions.
Yeah, I guess so.
How dare you ask me a question?
Yeah, definitely glad to see that. So, let's talk. Well, let's see. Most of us, or half of us, went to International Students for Liberty conference. I was a while ago now, but we haven't had a podcast since. So, what do y'all think of that event?
I think that was my first big event. I'm glad that I took the time to travel up the road to make it. I was able to meet a lot of people that I talked to on social media, kind of put a face with a name, and just kind of network. I had a chance to sit down and really talk to Will at length that day. I stood at the national table and, did membership and sold T-shirts. So for me, as I've been telling Andy and Bo on this end, I really want to start getting around and, traveling to Northern Virginia, D.C., Maryland, North Carolina, just kind of getting out and meeting people and kind of traveling across the state. That's one of the things I want to start doing. And, I've reached out to a lot of people in different groups across the state of Virginia, and a lot of people have been open to talk to me. Some people have even reached out with political issues in their community. So for me, I kind of look forward to traveling. I still owe you an article, Will, that I'll try to post soon. But, it was a good opportunity for me, especially as a new libertarian, to try to kind of network and meet different people.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed meeting you, and we had a good discussion. And don't worry about. I like to have that article, but I'm really behind on stuff too. I just posted my Jeffrey Tucker interview just an hour ago or so. And I got some other videos and content I'm looking to be posting here. Well, I said a week after the event, but obviously we're a few weeks after the event now. So hopefully I'll be getting that stuff out. You need some of that GSD stuff, Michael. Get focused.
Oh shit, man! Yeah, you're gonna have to wait till the next batch comes through. We'll put a halt on all production.
Let's go ahead and segue into that since I brought that up.
Yeah, so the FDA has banned the use of CBD from hemp, cannabidol from hemp, as a dietary supplement. So basically, there's a ton of companies out there selling supplements or other products like our product, our Canair Full Focus GSD, which has CBD as an ingredient. It's just one of 19 different ingredients. But basically, what the FDA said is that it can no longer be used or sold as a dietary supplement. And the reasoning behind that is because I'm going to read this straight from the FDA's website. Based on available evidence, FDA has concluded that cannabidol products are excluded from the dietary supplement definition under section blah 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 of the FD&C Act. Under that provision, if an article such as cannabidol has been authorized for investigation as a new drug for which substantial clinical investigations have been instituted, for which the existence of such investigations have been made public, then products containing that substance are outside the definition of a dietary supplement. Basically, what it's saying is that because they just allowed, it actually says here too, GW Pharmaceuticals, right, to start investigating CBD as a new drug, they're not going to allow anyone to manufacture or sell it in the United States. So they basically just cut everyone off and gave a monopoly to GW Pharmaceutical, whose stock in turn has skyrocketed.
Wow.
So we put a hold on all sales and production. We're getting a press release ready to go nationwide about it, and we're going to retool our product. We're going to remove CBD from it, re-release it.
So give us a little bit what is your product, and just give us a little background on that.
It's an all-natural powdered energy drink with nootropics and CBD. Nootropics are supplements that increase brain function, so your ability to focus, concentrate, even your levels of motivation increase when taking our product. So it's a mix, kind of like Crystal Light. You pour it in water and you mix it up and you drink it down. That's how it works.
And what part does the CBD play in all that?
We actually don't make any health claims on CBD, but our CBD comes from all-natural, non-GMO, organic hemp out of Colorado. And we weren't sent a cease and desist letter. However, the company who supplies us with our CBD was actually one of the companies listed on their website that they must cease and desist their operations. At least selling CBD, manufacturing and selling CBD. So it's just like Atlas Shrugged, man. It's happening in this industry. It's happening all over the place. There's many industries that it's happening. The government basically, it's crony capitalism. They're stomping out the small guy. It's happening all over. Look at the cannabis industry here in Washington State. They're not releasing any new licenses to grow cannabis or to sell cannabis in the state. So anyone that wants to get in the marketplace, they can't, right? If they didn't fill out their application in that short time period 2 years ago, they're out of the market. They can't even participate. So even people from the black market, let's say if they want to go legitimate, they can't even do that. That's not even an option.
That's what you see, the government oversight and overreach just affect different industries. I mean, you're getting that firsthand with your company, and seeing that just with a stroke of a pen, you can't make your product, and or you can't, your company doesn't exist.
Yeah, a small group of bureaucrats in an office 3,000 miles away across the country deciding what we can do here in Washington State. It's ridiculous.
So at this point, is there any moves to go to court or do any type of lawsuit for businesses that have been negatively impacted by this new legislation that they've come up with?
Yeah, there is. And the crazy thing about it is that it's not really new legislation. It's just rules that unelected bureaucrats made in a back room and signed. Like, this isn't even legislation. No one voted on this except for the FDA board. which are all, former big pharma, executives and so on and so forth, lobbyists. They get put on these boards.
Well, doesn't the FDA know all and knows what's best for us, Michael?
Yeah. It all goes back to health freedom. Okay, so recently I actually just met with a doctor last week who's a libertarian, Dr. Jonathan Wright, and he was talking about how he can no longer give vitamin D, or he can no longer distribute vitamin D injections at his facility, at his clinic anymore. He has to send a prescription with the patient to a pharmacy to pick up the vitamin D and then take it back to his clinic to get the injection.
That's ridiculous.
They just passed that a couple months ago. So
this is in Washington, or is this
Washington State? No, it's all over. It's everywhere. Yeah, they made it to where clinics can no longer have vitamin D in their clinic.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you got to go to a pharmacy to buy it now.
Next thing you know, there'll be all the vitamins. Can't get multivitamins at Walmart, I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's just like a slippery slope. They just keep taking one thing. Next thing you know, they have control of the whole market, or they have their selected agents, with the cronyism, taking care of that. It's just such a corrupt system.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to push back as much as we can, make as much noise as possible. So.
Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
So before this FDA ruling, was your product legal in all 50 states, or because I don't know with the CBD?
Yeah, so CBD that we use comes from hemp, so there's no THC in it. That means there's no psychoactive effects, so it's not going to make you high, right? And it is legal, or it was legal in all 50 states. Now, according to the FDA, it's not. You have to be GW Pharmaceutical. It's only legal for GW Pharmaceutical.
Right, and y'all are going to try to fight that, to try to get back the CBD, or y'all just going to move on? Okay.
No, we're going to fight it. We're going to keep fighting, but not just for CBD, for as many things as possible. There's a right to try bill, a piece of legislation that's been going around. It hasn't had any success really anywhere yet, but I think it will. Basically saying, pull the power away from the FDA. If someone has a medical illness, right, or a disease, or a life-threatening illness, something like that, they're allowed to try whatever they want to fix that. They don't have to wait for the FDA for 4 years and $1 billion for that medication to go through. In Europe, you're talking a year for the approval process. United States, 2, 3, 4 years, and depends on how much money you have. So there's people who are not allowed to get life-saving treatment because FDA hasn't approved it yet. And the right to try legislation allows those people with illnesses to try whatever it is they want.
But if they don't protect us from harmful drugs, then what's going to happen, Michael?
Yeah, well, look at the pharmaceuticals they're approving right now. More people are killed from legal drugs, if you will, than illegal drugs every year. So.
Yeah, well, getting to that, pharmaceuticals, with different opioids or whatever, Vicodin and whatnot, people have become more dependent on those than illegal drugs, and you see more and more people dying of overdoses throughout the country because of that, and because it's so much easier to get that. You just get a prescription from your doctor for whatever. You either find a crooked doctor or a doctor that'll do prescribe you anything, or you just say that you have certain conditions or back pain or whatever, and then you have those.
But then what happens is they crack down on the pills, and those people are left with heroin.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of the heroin epidemic in our country is these drug laws that make no sense. And the fact that government control is not even able to allocate its resources as well as the black market is. That's why heroin's easier to get in some cases than oxycodone.
What do you mean the government does not coordinate the market very
Lost
efficiently?
myself here a little bit. But basically, people end up on heroin after getting the oxycodone. They're left with no other choices because of our backwards drug laws, and an inability to seek treatment because of.
Yeah.
That's what I was going for with this.
Or is there any other topics that I'm missing that have recently happened or you want to talk about?
Well, usually we check in on the LP presidential race. Bo's got the right idea that this is really not the place to be focusing our time as libertarian activists on the presidential primary.
No, surely isn't.
It's still fun to talk about sometimes. So we got a few.
Well, Steve Crabell, he dropped out. That's news.
And endorsed Governor Gary Johnson.
Well, you know, and of course,
Steve ran a great campaign.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I've shared this on Facebook, but one thing I found fascinating is that the website isidewith.com now actually has the top 3 libertarian candidates as options for who you side with, which
That's good.
you know they had like the top candidate for the Libertarians and the Greens and the Constitution Party last time around, but the fact that they actually have, they're actually wading into it beforehand, before the nominee is picked, is quite interesting. But I think it's a positive development, personally, especially given the fact that apparently all Johnson, Peterson, and McAfee all went to the website and filled out the information personally. So if you like their opinions or don't, I mean, this is straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Yeah, I remember I got to fill out one of those when I ran against Bob Goodlad, and I always thought that I'd side with. I actually gave that to a lot of my different friends. Some people that thought they were Democrats or thought they were Republicans, or some people that were apathetic towards politics, and it actually opened people's eyes up that they don't necessarily align with the party that they say that they do, Republican Party, Democratic Party, and it actually makes them at least look into these other parties or other candidates. And so I actually had a lot of people that were, say that they're Democrat, and they found out that they align more with the Green Party, and whatever the case may be, it at least allowed people to not just assume that they fit in one of the two major, the slots as square pegs, that there's other options and that they actually fit better with those. So I definitely think it's a great tool.
Yeah, and I think Gary in 2012 won isidewith.com.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that was a big deal. I know that there had been a few problems, and Gary had to go back and correct some things. I don't know if that was from 2012 or what it was. And of course, Austin was posting these bizarre screen caps nonstop.
Yeah.
It's clearly positive, and looking forward to the debate. When is it? A week from Friday, maybe. Longer than that. It's April 1st. It's going to air. That's a huge step to have a national TV debate. I know that we're going to have a party up here in Northern Virginia. I've seen a few others across the state, and I'm sure across the country as well. It's a big deal, and we're going to have, the little straw poll and all that stuff. People are excited. I don't necessarily think there's even a race at this point, but it's fun.
I've done some delegate counts and some numbers, and Gary Johnson's pretty much got this thing wrapped up.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Do you think that he can best his 2012 results? Do you think he'll tinker the message or spend more efficiently to do better? Or do you think that this election, let's just say it's Trump versus Hillary, if this is the sort of like the Starvers moment in Virginia where you have two candidates that people hate, and that this actually brings the third party into light?
But I think what the problem is people have to look. They got to look to see what third parties are offering. I think that a lot of things this week on social media people still think that voting for a third-party candidate for whatever other party is a wasted vote. And I think this week I saw something on BET, and they were talking about strategic voting. So people entering the opposing party's election to try to vote for the person with the hopes that in the regular general election, their person is going to end up winning. And it's like I watched it and I rewatched it, and I was talking to my wife, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Why don't you just vote for the person you want to vote for? But also you have to be involved in your local electoral process. Like, you can't sit home and talk about how messed up the city or the state is, and then when it's time to vote, you don't vote. Like, those are the people that are like, oh, it's presidential year, I have to vote now. And I'm like, what are they doing for you on the local level? And nothing. But folks are not really going out like they should. They're not really participating on things on the local level where we can make the most impact in our community. So I think that's what the unfortunate thing is. And I'm looking forward to meeting and networking with people and getting people to at least investigate what the Libertarian Party can do to assist us on a local level.
What do you think about Michael? Do you think Gary Johnson, since you said he pretty much has it wrapped up, do you think that he can tinker his message to try to get to those disenfranchised people, spend money more efficiently, not so much on staff and whatnot? Do you think that he could have the Sarvis moment in Virginia and actually pull people from both sides because the two candidates being so hated?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Looking at the latest FEC filing is not too encouraging, seeing that they spent $51,000 on political consultants out of $60,000 raised. That doesn't get me excited. But you know what? I'm not a part of the campaign. I've got nothing invested there, so I really hope they're able to fix that, and I'm going to do everything I can to encourage them to not spend so much on staff and to spend more on advertising and marketing, which is what will bring new people in and get us votes. Because if we're looking to win an election, we've got to get votes, and we've got to spend money on outreach versus spend money on staff, because the staff doesn't help with outreach. It really doesn't.
Right. I think we need like I said, marketing. We need to refine the message and make it digestible, make it where somebody can actually grasp it, and look into the Libertarian Party and look into voting for Gary Johnson.
Well, I actually mentioned recently that I actually thought we could see a Sarvis type effect nationwide. Now, of course, at the state convention, one of the sort of lesser-known candidates was saying, well, if he got the Libertarian Party nomination, he guaranteed he would win the election, which to me sort of discounts him as a credible candidate, unfortunately.
90% in every state.
Yes, there are.
Was his claim.
Yes.
Who's this?
What was his name? Derek Reed, is that right?
Oh, that guy. Oh, God.
Yeah, that was the first time I actually found a presidential candidate who actually scared me, but for other reasons.
You know what, guys? Whoever is letting him on these stages, they need to be canned immediately. Like, let's stop this.
So, I've heard talking from national staff about this, that the qualifications are much too low to be listed as an official candidate. All you got to do is file your paperwork and have a website. And Darrell W. Perry decided that he was going to file his paperwork, and they still let him in. So, that's got to be changed in their national staff.
Well, some of his rhetoric. I mean, he was talking about slitting throats and letting blood flow. I mean, that's a little disturbing. I didn't actually mention this in the debate, but I talked with him the night before, and I was like, holy crap, I need to go someplace else.
Have you all seen his website?
Yes. Yeah. It was like totalitarian democracy.
Totalitarian democracy or something like that. But it is...
so I probably spent the most time with him. I even bought lunch, and we did a I had my video people do an interview with me and him in the hotel room, but we got caught up in the exclusive rights to the video between the LP and the video company, which was what I was working out. So I got some nasty emails from Mr. Reed telling me that I needed to cease and desist, and I no longer had exclusive rights, and he redid the video with somebody in California, which I didn't mind. My problem was you were asking me to do something, and I took my time to do it for you, and then you sent me a nasty email when I explained to you that we were trying to work out the rights issue. So that completely pissed me off, but, you know, the glass is half full, so I wish him success, but I don't think he's going to make it.
Well, and then
you wish him all the success you want.
Something else I think you might find amusing. Of course, again, I like talking about I side with, so I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. One of the another Republican Party chairman took that, who I'm Facebook friends with, and he posted his results. And his top result was Austin Peterson. He's like, "Who the heck is Austin Peterson?" And that just amused me tremendously. Because people are actually asking these questions right now.
Yeah. It's a good deal, man. Derek Michael Reed, though, the Civil War uniform.
Yes.
He loves this. Like in real life, he's obsessed with the Civil War. It's actually a Civil War uniform.
Yeah.
Or it's supposed to be, at least.
Well, is that photoshopped on him? It looks like it is.
Maybe.
Okay.
Scary is the right word.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, anything else? Any other topics?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up, guys. Thanks for coming, and glad we could do this. We haven't done it for about a month. Try to do it again in 2 weeks, and hopefully more interesting stuff comes up. We can have more libertarian discussion on different topics. So,
there's something else. You want one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, have you heard about the stuff going on in Oregon? So Oregon's been a big fucking problem for the Libertarian Party for years, right? But now there's a debate going on between Gary Johnson and Austin Peterson on Friday night.
Gary's not going to show up.
No, he is.
Gary would. Yeah.
No, he didn't. He did, but they're back on now. They got their flight, everything. They're going for it, yeah.
Huh.
Okay.
Yeah, Austin's going to be there as well.
What's going on? What?
Okay, so there's two groups in Oregon. One, I guess, is the officially recognized Libertarian Party, and then the other group is a PAC. Okay, but the officially recognized Libertarian Party is not holding a convention this year. So the PAC is holding a convention, and they're holding a debate. So the other side that's officially recognized says that if any of the presidential candidates show up, then they're not going to allow them on the ballot because they have ballot access. The official party does. Yeah.
Mm.
Wow.
However, the Secretary of State said that in the ruling that they'd go along with whatever the national party says. So if the current holders in the state party don't allow our presidential candidate on the ballot, the national party will probably have to make a ruling and then switch it over or something like that. I don't know. But it's a mess. But however, we're going to get a debate on Friday night between Austin Peterson and Gary Johnson, one-on-one.
And where is that going to be televised?
It's going to be live stream, I think.
Is it going to be better than the Alabama live stream?
Yes, I think so. I'll head down there early. It's a 3-hour drive from where I'm at. So.
Okay. Yeah, because that thing was like recorded on a laptop webcam, like what we're recording us on, like with 10 dudes on a stage, all washed out, horrible audio.
Yeah.
That was.
I'll make sure
horrible.
they turn the lights up in Portland.
So. All right.
All right, that's it, guys. Hey, sorry about that.
All right. Well, let us know how that goes, and thanks again for coming. And we'll do it again in 2 weeks. So see you all guys later.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks,
Take
y'all.
care.